Yeah, I think she does. Yeah.
Hey, what's this?
Hi, Dad. This looks familiar. Wait. Money.
Only way you recognize him is looking through a camera,
You couldn't get anything but stuff. Yeah, he got his name had an electronic and Aaron has a video game that plays on it. He's playing. Hey, Dad, it's we'll see someone get a video camera. And it wasn't even our mom. I know. My mom takes our pictures everywhere. Look. Oh. Darling.
Suit her either. So that when he would sneak over to see her through some woods at night, they would tie a string or a rope across between two trees to trim him in the dark. But she also told me herself that she promised her father on his deathbed that she would marry David Edwards. And of course it did turn out to be a wonderful marriage, and he was respected all over the United States at that time for his ability to run up to Lake Crystal, Minnesota.
Yeah, and then were they in the sea too?
Yeah.
Wisconsin?
They were in Roy, Wisconsin, too.
Yeah.
I don't know about Racine, but we went to see them at Roy, Wisconsin one time.
Because she visited with them at different times in Lake Crystal. I don't know how long that they were in Lake Crystal. But I remember her telling the story about he had 3 churches at the time.
Yeah.
So he had to make 3 sermons or attend 3 sermons and be responsible for 3 services. And Maggie told me one time, "You think you like to polish your shoes once in a while, Owen?" I said, "Yes, I do." She said, "My sister Elizabeth used to polish David's boots every Sunday. And that was her responsibility before he went out the door. Every Sunday to get to these services. He traveled from church to church to church. Right up to the gate and so forth.
I also might add that a lot of their payment in those days was in kind. Eggs, chicken, fruit, vegetables, but very little cash. Seems to me I saw a picture tonight of somebody's wife shining their shoes around here. This area is approximately 30 square miles, but the point that I'm going to try and get across here, especially to the young people, there are very few of us, myself included, in this whole congregation tonight that selected a spouse that resided less than 5 miles from where they were born and raised. Now we're talking about the period of years beginning in 1888, ending in 1911. Most of the transportation was accomplished by horse and buggy or horseback or on foot. The hub of the community was the old Welsh church here. As I said, this is where they lived. Now, after Lizzie, we come to Sarah, and Ann S. and John S. Jones, and he always told them that he was going to wait for Sarah, which he did. And the proximity of the here's the old home place. John E., whom she married, homesteaded from the government his farm for 50 cents an acre. He had 240 acres right here, approximately a mile away from Sarah's home place. John E., when he homesteaded, lived in a sod house, traded with the Indians, and eventually built a stick house or a wooden house, and then later on built a bigger house. They all it was more or less an ethnic community. There were Lutheran and Welsh in that area, and that was what they had to pick from. Now,
Roger, the bottom of the gridiron is south?
yeah, this is south, that's north. Been able to determine the years that David Edwards served there, but it was during the 1880s. Aunt Sarah and Uncle Johnny were married in 1891. Sarah was 19, and as I said, they only lived a mile apart. Next was Maggie. Now, she married Robert Kloss. The Klosses were another Welsh family that came from Wales. They came to Wisconsin as well as a lot of the Welsh people did. And they eventually migrated to Nebraska because of the territory made available. This was the Kloss homestead here. Oh, this was the Kloss homestead originally, but when Maggie and Bob were married, which was in 1895, Maggie was 20, but the Kloss homestead was here, so that they had less than 2 miles, or no, here's where Maggie lived, but they only had about 3.5 miles that he had to handle to do his courting. And of course they settled on the farm, which the house is still standing. Many of you remember the home where I was born and raised. My father bought that from John W. Roberts, who had homesteaded for 50 cents an acre from the government. John W. Roberts was the father of May Jones, who became John S. Jones's wife. John married May, and I don't have the year. I corresponded with some of the family, but they didn't have the date. I don't know too much about the courtship of John and May, but here's where John lived, and here is where the John W. Roberts farm was, or where I was born and raised. My dad bought it from the John W. Roberts family, so there was a distance of 2 miles involved there. And that was the first of the 8 that didn't marry an honest-to-goodness Welsh girl, although John W. Roberts was Welsh. The Roberts being a Welsh name, all Welsh names end in S, as you know. John farmed until he grew to be a young man, and then he became a banker, and we all know he served at the bank in Wymore for many years. They had a big home in Wymore, and I well remember, as will Jane and Helen and some of you, that one night in 1925, we all went to his house as a family and had oyster stew. He had an Atwater Kent radio with a big question mark speaker and 3 dials and a couple of little gadget dials. And it was one of the first radios in Wymore.
And earphones.
No, it had the, well, he might have had them too, Jan, I don't know, but it had the question mark speaker. But I'll never forget, he had that, and he had a big old Hudson automobile. Next came Mary, my mother. Now, Mother, of course, lived here with the rest of them, but here was the Williams farm, just up here and around the corner. They too homesteaded from the government. And this was my grandfather Williams. So Dad only had about a mile to go to see Mary. And the story is told that one night they had a date, and Tom was bringing Mother home in the buggy. And in those days, they had livestock running loose, and so there was a gate in front of the home entrance. And it's pouring down rain, and Dad got there, and he went to open the gate, and it was wired shut. Uncle Rob had wired it and wired it and wired it so that Tom would have to get out and get lit, get in the wood. Rob and Ella, Rob is next. They were married in 1906 when Rob was 24. Ella's maiden name was Jones. They were Ella's father lived right here near Wymore, where the old stockyards used to be in Wymore. And he was instrumental in bringing a lot of the Welsh people from Wales to this country. He would correspond with the people back in Wales and let them know of the availability of land in Nebraska. And they had 4th of July picnics and that sort of thing. And I believe that's where Rob met Ella. Gertrude, if you can fill me in on any of their romance and early dates or whatever, feel free to say something.
I don't know the story of how they met originally, unless it was, see, Grandfather did own the land where Wymore was eventually. Whether they met, no, they couldn't have met that time. That was too early.
Well,
I
your
don't
dad
know.
still lived out here on the farm at
Yeah.
that time, and
I don't know how they actually met.
Aunt Sarah's name was Jones before she was
Yeah.
married too.
right.
But
You
of
didn't
course,
have to
Mother,
change.
And then Aunt Margaret, well, that's on my mother's side.
We're too involved. And Mother lived in Kansas, you recall.
Yeah.
She lived in Barrett, Kansas. And
After
Dad
he sold out.
courted her in Kansas.
Jake Dawson.
Well,
and
you
my
didn't
dad
meet her
was
in
on
Wymore?
He courted her in Kansas. She
Okay.
lived in Barrett, Kansas. And he rode a bicycle of 40 miles to go see her.
Oh.
With your mom.
Yeah.
And they rode together. They rode
Yeah.
How about the section?
That's still land already. Went down once.
Gertrude, didn't he ride that
She was
little
worth it.
hand that you pump up and down
That was
over
another
the
time.
tracks?
That was another time.
Next we have Edith, who married Frank Bennington in 1910 when she was 25. Frank lived in Wymore and had attended school in Lincoln to learn to fix watches, and he became the resident watch inspector for the railroad. Edith, of course, graduated, and I think she was the first of the family to graduate in 1904 from Wymore High School. All the rest of the family, I think, didn't get beyond the 4th or 5th grade. You want to contribute to this, Jane, on your mother?
Well, I might say that, well,
Dad got to the 10th grade.
yeah. I think maybe Mother was the first girl who graduated. But I have to say, you want to know what their yell was for 1904? Get off the earth, give us the floor. We're the class of 1904. At any rate, she went to work in the local jewelry store where my dad was working. And of course, they soon became engaged. And girls and boys, can you believe this? They were engaged for 6 years. And during those 6 years, she embroidered, she crocheted, she bought, little doilies and little things that you put over tables, and I have boxes of them. And I can't bear to give them away. But don't ever give anything like that away, because our daughter, Kathy, wore Edith's wedding dress when she was married. And of course in 1910, the waists were like this, and Kathy's was like this. So we took one of the little doilies that Mother had gotten some way and inserted a little bow in the back. So you see, it all works out. Oh, and then they bought the store. Mother and Daddy bought the jewelry store, and they were there for 1910 till 1941 in Wymore.
Thank you, Jane. Last was Lou. He was the baby of the family, and I will read what Kay sent to me. Lou and Hope met at a school program in Barnston when she was 13. He told her then she was the girl he would marry, They were married on May the 17th, 1911, when she was 18 and he was 24. So she had to wait 5 years. Their first home was at Crider, Nebraska. Now, Crider is a little grain elevator about 10 miles southwest of Wymore. And I don't know whether it still stands today or not.
Yes.
It does? Good. In 1913, they moved to Canada to take up land near what became the town of Dinsmore. In 1917, they moved into the town, and Lou went into the automobile and farm machinery business as the L.E. Jones Company. And on top of that, he became the local undertaker, and he was the mayor, and he ran the city light plant, and I mean, he was the whole schmear.
Ford dealer.
Yeah, Ford dealer. But that's about the size of it. But you kids today, just think of the slim pickings these people had in those days, and they had all of their entertainment was right here in this little Welsh church. That's where they went to see and be seen, not alone just to get a religious education. These red things are country schoolhouses around the neighborhood, but it's interesting to note how little distance they had to travel to do their courting, and not one of them had a divorce
Right. What is the red cutoff for south?
Pick it up, but we'll reset up at the continental breakfast.
Tomorrow morning.
Gertrude has seen this, but we run onto this. This is the funeral card that's passed out during the services, of course, as you know. This is the one for John. And part of it's in Welsh, but he was 43, 43 years old, left with these 8. So take a look at this and be very careful.
Hold up the big photograph of them so
Right.
that they're easy to see.
There they are. And Helen's been looking for this all over our house, and we finally found it just yesterday.
Who is it, Roland?
This is John and Ann.
Oh, okay. The parents of the
Parents of
The
the
origin
8.
of the 8,
Parents of the 8.
and the 2 who homesteaded.
How did he die? How did he die?
Appendicitis.
They didn't know.
No.
Yes. Before we get to this, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but maybe some of you have seen this before. This dark section here is a map of Wales, where it all began. Now, if you look up in the upper right-hand corner, there is Wales in the dark in comparison to the British Empire known as the British Isles. We used to know it as the British Isles. Here's Wales down the southwest corner. All right, I'll just point out a few things, but take time later to come over and look at this because it's easy to read. It shows you what the activity is in each community by the pictures shown. Down south, you'll see what looks like a Capitol building, and it is Cardiff, way down here in the south end. You see it with the red underneath and the dome on the top. That's the capital of Wales. All right? Now, this is the South Wales, Mid Wales, and Upper Wales. Maybe it doesn't sound too important to you folks here, but it's totally Welsh. And they're picking it up. And it's coming back. They have their own TV channel now, Channel 6 out of London, which was one of the campaign planks of Margaret Thatcher if she were elected. And if she reneged, which she did,
That would be called Welsh.
she promised Welsh schools. She also promised a Welsh TV channel, and she did renege. But knowing the Welshmen as you and I know, you don't renege on them. If they tell you what they're going to do, they better stick with it. Anyway, the long story short is they do have a TV channel. They do have their schools now. Up north, I'll spend just a second. Here's Carnarvon. I know what happened here. Prince of Wales was invested here, and it's a beautiful, beautiful, still maintained castle. It's huge, absolutely huge. If you ever get a chance to go, Don't miss that. Don't miss that. All right. Now, just a word about this.
But where did our grandparents come from?
It's up north.
Yes, up in the northeast corner.
I don't know if
Yeah.
help me on this, Gertrude. Maybe Clementis is not. Here's Ruthin.
All right, it's just north of Route.
So it's not too far from Ruthin. In fact, Gertrude and Helen and Ellsworth Kloss and I visited the church. It's still there, still being used. It's being rebuilt some, and it's beautiful, really. Very, very nice, but it's very, very old. Helen even played the little pump organ.
Wasn't it built in 560?
560.
Yes.
560.
What's it built of, stone or wood?
Stone. Huge boulders.
And a service has been held there, where they told us every Sunday since then, of course.
And
not
it's
the same building.
interesting, the floor is all stone, and it's hollowed out from the traffic.
The doorstep is just hollowed out from the people walking across it over the centuries. This is a miner's lamp which is still being used today, not in this brightness, obviously, because this is one that was made up special with the copper plating on the top. But this factory that makes these is still in business, and it's still a lamp that's being used today, even though there's only one active coal mine working. The National Coal Board has taken over all of the coal mining in Wales. But there's one that's working, active. We visited there, and this is a working lamp, but obviously it wouldn't be copper on the top half. It would be a leadish type or pewter above. This lamp is not used for illumination. This is used for safety. The flame inside is used to detect by the workers. The reason for the large bale is to carry it when your hands are busy, or carry it on the belt, wherever you keep it, as you go in or hold other things going down the shafts and so forth. When you get to where you're going to do your picking of the coal, you put it there. You watch the color of the flame, and they know when that color changes or it's about to go out, it's time for them to get the age out of there, because there's no oxygen. It's a safety lamp for miners. Prior to this, we used our little friends, the canaries. When the canaries would flop over in the cages, you better be out, because canary can't live without oxygen, and neither can you.
However, I think that we should say that our grandfather Jones was not a miner. He was a farmer and carpenter, a handyman rather. And however, when they first came to this country, as I understand, he did find employment in the East for a while in the mines, and that didn't help his health situation at all. But we always think of Welsh mining, you know, how green is my valley and all that. But that northeast corner is beautiful farmland with wild daffodils growing along the sides of the road. That's the national flower. And that's where Dale said, why did they ever leave there? But I'm sure that the money was scarce too.
If you're interested, here is a Bible, complete Bible. It's all printed in Welsh. If you want to see how the words look, and take a hold of it, turn the sheets, turn the pages, turn to where you see Genesis, and you'll recognize the chapter names and so forth. So look at it before you leave.
It's so large because the letters are, the words in the letters are so long, is that?
For the French, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. Of course, Argowith is the Welsh word for God, isn't it? With the Kloss family, Helen wanted to bring this, because this is a photographic album of the Kloss family. So many of you will be wanting to leaf through here, and she and I can help you a little bit, I think, on some of the photographs. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. Have an S on it.
Come on, Vanna.
Vanna Mast here. Okay. Who wrote the introduction to the first Jones books?
Sarah.
Who carried their typewriters and tables up to the second floor of the Gage County Courthouse for the civil service exam?
Oh, they can't answer that because they know
I
that.
had an E on it. Can you imagine that they got this? That they got this question? You did a bad job picking. Who did that?
Here she is,
Who else? Who was with her?
Jane.
They carried their typewriters and tables up to take a civil service test. They get a point. Who? Huh? Maybe. Nobody's here from John. Okay, Mary? I'll pick one.
I like her.
I had a couple questions I thought would stump my dad. Okay. Lisa, you answer this question. And if you can't, you can get Grandpa to help, okay? Who just finished coaching girls' softball season?
Oh, I know. Mark Pennington. No.
No?
Oh,
You stumped him.
I don't know who. It's Ben's dad, isn't it?
No, it's Ben. Ben DeMeo, not Ben Pennington.
Oh.
Nice try, Lisa. She tried to cheat because she was in the room when you told us that.
That's right. That's our son-in-law. Be here
Okay.
tomorrow.
Who's going to answer the first question from the Rob contingent? Guys and sells fire engines.
Roger.
That's RVs.
Say, if we answer, do we get a point?
No, the family, this is family points. Does anybody from Rob's family know who buys and sells fire engines? You don't get a point for this for getting help. She said Raj.
That's locomotives.
Locomotives, train engines. Marshall Jones. Who celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary on March 13, 1945?
Wedding. 45, that would be 95.
He's helping.
Oh,
He's helping.
There's cheating in the race.
He's helping.
That's all
That
right.
would be 1895. 1895.
This is straight out of the Wymore Arbor Station. A clipping. A clipping.
1895, all right. I'm going to guess.
I read it tonight.
Sarah. I'm going to guess Sarah.
Maggie and Uncle Bob.
Maggie.
We're not doing real well here. Okay, nobody's here from Lou, so we're back up to Sarah. We're Betty Jean, we're ready for you again.
Again?
Who was the mayor of Wymore?
Oh, I know that.
Robert S. Jones. Point.
Quite a while.
For Sarah. Okay, you ready? Who pitched a no-hit, no-run baseball game in 1953 in Springfield, Illinois?
Who's answering that?
Helen Nolan.
No hitter?
No hitter, no runs, no hits, no errors.
No game.
I'm being coached here. We don't know.
Don't know? Warren Townsend.
In fact, I do believe Tim caught it, right?
Okay. 2 in a horse trough on the R.S. Jones farm?
I can name anybody.
They can't put me in one.
Well, that's not the answer here.
Oh, well, then I don't know.
Kenneth did that to Liz. Sister and brotherly love. Okay. Who's going to answer for Rob this time? Fractured his skull at a Jones reunion.
Beverly's boy.
Yeah.
I don't know his name.
What do you
Right
say?
here.
Do we give it to him?
That's right.
It was right here at this very
Yes, it
hotel.
was. Greg Brenham. They get one. They get one.
Did they throw him on his head?
He was
No,
diving in the
yeah.
pool.
Down at the Wymore pool.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Right.
Got one for you, Jane. What symbolizes the vanquishing of evil on the Welsh flag? I forgot to tell you, I also got some Welsh history in here.
Read the question again.
Take a
The
The what?
The dragon.
The dragon, that's right, the red dragon. They get a point. Yes.
I
Okay.
knew that.
Betty G, you ready? Who made a career in the Royal Canadian Air Force?
That's Catherine, Uncle Lou's, Catherine's second husband, Wally.
No, that was the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. We want the
Carl.
Oh, sure, Phil, give it a while.
It was hard.
Do I get a point?
No. No.
That's true.
Well, give it to Jean, she got it.
Okay, ready? Who lived in Asia for 6 years?
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, but Helen and Owen have to know that. I know.
Hey, hi,
What do you think?
I'm going to guess white.
Did Whitey? No?
Not that long.
Okay. It was Marilyn and Dick Halsey. Pakistan, Thailand, all those places. Okay, where were we, Maggie? Okay, you guys ready? Who flew Rob, Elwin, and Olin to Dinsmore for Lou and Hope's 50th anniversary? That's right.
Who got sick?
Haven't gotten better to die.
Okay,
Rob just had a point.
back to Jane again. Okay, who was drum major for the band and her sister was runner-up for homecoming queen at the same time? And who was the grandmother who drove 800 miles to be there?
Well, that's 3 questions.
We gave it to someone capable.
Oh. Well, it's got to be Lisa and Stephanie and Grandma Marie.
No.
No?
No, they're ugly, non-musical, and she doesn't live 800 miles away. It was Sarah, the drum major, Amy on court, and Grandma Gertrude. We're up to Sarah again. She just missed it.
She blew it?
She blew it. I blew it. Ready, Betty? Ready, Betty? Which granddaughter of John and Ann lived on Cedar Street in Park Forest, Illinois? Granddaughter of John and Ann. That's a hard question.
That's a long time ago. I'm trying to think of who I knew.
Is there something significant about Park City, Illinois?
Park Forest, yeah, it was in that book Organization Man, you know, it was one of the first communities ever planned or something.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
You can't answer, Ron.
They should be able to answer and get a point for their spam.
No, it wasn't Roger. It's a granddaughter.
She's here tonight.
She's here.
I'm sorry.
Gertrude. Gertrude did that.
Hey, that one too.
Oh, this is good. Who's St. David?
Oh.
You like this one?
Another tough one.
He is the arch druid of Wales.
You can't
Druid,
give him
really?
all those questions. He knows them.
I just picked it up. I couldn't help it.
You should let everyone in your family have turn.
What?
He's the patron saint of Wales.
Okay, are you ready?
Come on, guys, come on.
Who raced go-karts at the 1985 reunion in Colorado?
I know this. Mark Townsend and Dwayne Holsey. Or
Wayne,
Holsey.
you're right. You're right. Lisa got it right.
I was there with them, that's why.
Okay. Vance.
Ah, you're on.
Volunteer for one.
Ready?
Yeah.
Who have been national officers in the Eastern Star?
Oh.
I know that.
Good.
Owen Helen?
That's right. Has anybody else? Those are the only ones I knew.
John S. Yes.
John S. was?
But I don't.
I'm not sure he was
State.
national, though.
No, that's right.
He was state, probably.
Yeah.
He was not
He
national.
was a running grand patron of Nebraska in
That's right.
1922.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Ready, Jane? What industry did Roger work in for 35 years?
Oh, I know that. Oh, now wait a minute. I gotta be careful.
It was Jack and
For 35 years. This wasn't when he was a very young man. This no. Well, I don't know what he told you, but
I could have said what fed Kim for 20.
I think he bought and sold locomotives.
He was in the railroad industry. All right, he just gets one. Okay, for Betty Jean again.
I was going to say iron fireman, Rod.
Yeah,
Way back.
I thought better of it.
That wasn't 35 years behind.
I know.
You guys ready? Who was secretary to the director of the Visiting Science Division of the National Academy of Science? Gertrude. That's right. See, they're getting easier.
Yeah.
I think if you don't know the answer, just say Gertrude. I think so too, Jane.
Ready? Who lived in the Portland Concrete Demonstration House for the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair?
Oh my God.
I did not write these. I didn't do this.
Hey, Foggies.
Read that again.
Gertrude. You just went everywhere.
You always this thick.
Read that question.
Read
again.
that.
I challenge you.
Tim did it.
It was the Portland Concrete Demonstration House that was built in Webster, the one that we lived in on Greeley Street.
It was?
And it was built for the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair.
Oh.
The garage we had out there was wallpapered in newspapers and was dispatched from May 15th to May 23rd, 1904.
And this was the house you
That
lived
was
in
the house we
Webster?
lived in on Greeley Street in Webster.
Some experience too.
I've been in that house with you
I
guys.
thought you
sure
meant
don't
Gertrude
remember
was going to bring the fair.
When you build a house like that,
No.
when you build a house like that, and then you want to put in electrical wiring, there are no
Oh,
ways you.
I worked with the
It
Portland
looked just
Cement
like an ordinary
Association
house.
for 35 years, didn't know that. know how famous we were?
No, I was in the hospital just like an ordinary house to me. Okay, you guys ready? Who sang on radio station KFAB in Lincoln?
Terry.
Jerry, that's right.
Just always guess.
Okay, this is for, who's going to take it for Rob? Zeke?
No, I don't know.
Yes, you do.
I don't either.
Who graduated from Grand Island Business College in 1925?
And what year?
1925.
I don't know.
Ivor.
Ivor. Oh. I bet she told me.
Ready, Jane? Who had their first speeding ticket after living 15 years?
How about Gertrude?
I have to give you another question because, of course, it's Gertrude.
I was going to say Gertrude. I was going to say Gertrude. It was on the tip of her tongue.
No, we're going to give her another question because he cheated.
I didn't know.
From now on, if you don't know the answer, say Gertrude. Here, are you ready? Who in Mary's family was the editor of their high school yearbook?
And Mary's family. Immediate family
Well, all the descendants of Mary
was the editor
of their high school yearbook. I know the answer.
I do.
Okay, Kim.
No.
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Jean, you want to try? Oh, come on. You mean you haven't been reading your Jones books?
Boy, this comes from. All right.
Who broke a bookcase glass in an attempt to rearrange his brother's face?
Oh,
Are you there too? I guess Roger.
Warren did that trying to get at Tim.
That's the other side. Whose family did you say? Now I want to recount. I thought you said Mary.
No, that was the yearbook.
Okay.
Okay.
You're one behind.
Ready? Who is the most traveled dog in the family?
Family dogs.
In the whole family, whose dog travels the most?
What is the name of the dog?
Oh, I know.
It's Buffy Brake, I'm sure.
Oh.
Isn't it Buffy? Don't you take Buffy with you?
Well, I know Buffy, but I
Oh,
But they died.
you're kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. Well, that wasn't a good question. Well, maybe you know the answer to that. What brother and sister married a brother and sister?
Are they alive?
Sarah.
He says I'm well.
No. Did he?
No, that was Uncle and
Kathy and Doug DeMeo. Kathy and Doug
Meyer.
Meyer
And
married Ben and Deanna DeMeo.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and that was.
I'm one married cousin.
No. Unwell and Rob married sisters. when Amwell and Rob were.
Okay. You ready?
Come on, guys.
Where were John and Ann Jones married?
Wales.
Well, I know in Wales. I already have that.
Ever Sirwis.
Where?
Ever Sirwis.
I don't know. Is that how you pronounce? It probably is how you pronounce Denbigh, right?
Oh, Denby. Right.
Probably how you pronounce it.
It's Denby.
Okay, Rob again. Whose turn?
Bob.
Bob, you ready? How many great-grandchildren does Mary have? And name them. Now, we could have said, how many great-grandchildren did Rob have, and name them, and then there'd be all kinds.
That's a simple question, we'll pass it.
And Warren will handle it.
I'll punch you out again.
Oh, let's see, Mary.
Mary's grandchildren.
I thought you said great-grand.
No. Oh, did I? Oh, I did say great-grandchildren.
All right.
That is right.
What?
Great.
I'll open that one up.
Oh, here's two of them right here.
Put some tape on his mouth.
Great-grandchildren.
You're gonna have to
Beth
sit in
and
the middle.
Lisa and Sharon.
And
Wayne.
And Wayne. So that'd be three.
Four. My daughter. Karen.
Oh, yeah.
Karen and Stephanie and Lisa and Wayne. Now that's the smallest little pitiful family. I almost did that. I almost said name Rob's great-grandchildren. I thought nobody could even begin to do it. Okay, Edith, back to Edith.
I protest because I'm humiliated more often than Rob's family.
Just said Gertrude.
No, you're not.
Betty Jean, when was John S. born?
John and
1845.
She got it. She got it.
Well, she knew where it all was.
How did you know that?
Well, she read it on the board.
Let's see inside.
You're sharp.
Are you ready? Who traveled all across America with her insurance examiner husband?
Oh, I know that.
Elizabeth James.
Elizabeth James. Okay, that's Maggie. Who put a stone crock on his head so he could stand on his head?
I was either Amwell or Emmerich.
Well, you got to guess one.
Emmerich.
It was Amwell.
Go home.
They all look alike.
Rod, you have another chance.
No, that's only for Jane. Okay, who's up for Rob?
Mark.
Ready? Okay, Mark.
Okay, Mark, flip the camera over and tape yourself.
Yeah.
Say, can I hold it while you answer it?
I gotta give him a. Who swallowed 10 pennies in one sitting?
Oh, wow. You sure did that?
Well, ask your family for help.
Help me, Grandma? No?
Well, the person who did that, hold up their hand, please.
At least we got something.
My folks noticed they weren't around and they said, "Where are your pennies?" And I said, "I found them."
And the doctor said, I see some change in you.
Of a Ford dealership for many years in Friend, Nebraska. Yep. James got that for Edith.
See, June, you're not doing that bad. Considering the money. Yeah, you just want
Considering the
special
money.
help so you can win.
You ready? Who in our family were elected to Phi Beta Kappa upon graduating from college?
Jane.
That's the only one I know. Does anybody know anybody else?
Oh, yeah, I do. Mark Pennington
Mark?
and Kathy Meyer.
Well, good. All you Penningtons got it all. Well, that's good. I didn't know. I knew you. I didn't know anybody else.
I don't know if you put that in.
No, it's not. You ought to be proud. That's why you're wearing the keys, too.
That's why I have 4 marks up there.
See,
That's why you've been missing all those questions.
what's the star for?
Because she got that hard one and she
Where it makes
Grandpa knows.
I thought Jane answered that.
No, she was the answer.
No, I said it first.
Pay attention here.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Stop sleeping.
Now it's for Helen and Nolan. Who in Rob's family ate mashed potatoes thinking it was ice cream?
Grandpa Jones.
Probably one person.
No, he just pays him for ice cream.
Uncle Rob, I've got Kenneth. Did Uncle Rob have to do it too? Uncle Rob, give it to him. I understand that was kind of a family prank.
Yeah, I think he did it, and
How does one not tell ice
Roger,
cream
you
apart
That
from
happened
mashed
to Kenneth at
potatoes?
our house one time.
yeah,
And
and
the other one too,
And
they still
Ellen.
about.
Yeah, Ellen had it.
How do they not know the difference?
He had
It's
no
quite a
taste
difference
buds.
from-
Who was born 2 days before Gertrude?
What's on the board, Grandpa?
No, that couldn't be Gertrude.
Ellen.
Pauline.
Pauline.
that one was born 2 days before.
Okay, Uncle Rob's family again. Who's up?
Well,
Tim.
Aaron and Aaron and Linda and
Yeah.
we got a lot of people. Choose from here.
Who in Mary's family's in the Navy?
I'll help you. It's not Stephanie or Lisa.
Oh,
It's not Kathy and me, not Mom and Dad.
not
Roger.
Wayne.
Is in the Navy. Wayne.
That's right.
Is Wayne in
You know that
there?
there's only 3 of us not here? I mean, we're so small that there's only 3 of us not here, and there's only 6 of us here.
Say that again.
Wayne Holmes?
Yeah, Wayne's in the Navy.
Yeah.
He's also married.
Well, we just got a letter from him recently that he was going to be married.
Yeah.
He got married and joined the Navy. What a good deal.
Now he knows
I don't know in which order.
Eat it. Okay. What did John S. do? What line of work was he in Pennsylvania?
Oh, he did work in the mines.
He was a miner.
Yay!
Yay. Soon to be larger.
Name Rob's children in order.
Who you asking?
Betty Jean.
Oh, me?
Oh, Kenneth, Gertrude, Willard, Elizabeth, and Phyllis.
Right.
Too, and he has it.
Well, I haven't done that one.
Come on, guys, you gotta beat the Rob family.
All right. Who was a Missouri State wrestling champion?
Warren.
Warren.
And I was there. I saw you do it.
What weight class?
I saw them carry you planes in Arizona.
Warren, answer that.
We worked 3 gold claims
Straight from Jones Book Trivia. It's in print, in the book.
Arizona.
I don't know if they owned them, but they worked them.
This is
Chick Ackerman?
Yeah.
You didn't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kansas Rock.
Oh, they did get it?
Vance got it. All right.
Okay, ready?
That's Dale's turn.
What?
Okay, Dale, you know this one. You know this one. What's the capital city of Wales? He just told you. Now, we'll see if he was paying attention to what you told him.
Remember that.
Oh, he said it. He said it. I heard it.
Would you get on film that she has her hand over her poor husband's mouth?
There, you just threw away our trip to
Jane, is
Wales.
that why there's oxygen in your room?
Well, he just threw away our trip to Wales.
You know, what's the answer? What's the answer?
Oh, are you, oh, well,
No,
he
it
guessed,
won't
so
count.
we.
It won't count, but what's the answer?
Oh, it's that little dome down there.
Carter.
That little dome right down there at the bottom.
That's right. Back up to Sarah's family. How old was John S. when he died, and in what year did he die?
He was 43. So that must have been.
Look at this cheat. Look at her. That's right. She gets it again.
Good for you, Jean.
What was the date, 1888?
100 years ago this year. 100 years ago. Okay. Name John's children in order of their birth.
Who are you talking?
Helen and Olin.
I got the second one, but I haven't got the first one. Got Dwight, but I can't.
Dwight. Here's the baby. Gordon, Eleanor, and Dwight. Who was called Yogurt.
It has to be somebody in the last 20 years, because yogurt wasn't invented before then. Yogurt.
No, that was a family.
Does anybody know that? Just don't answer, just say, do I?
Jane,
know
Jane,
that?
Jane, remember when you're stumped what you're supposed to do, Jane?
That was pretty well.
When you don't know the answer, what are you supposed to say?
You're supposed to ask for help.
No. If you don't know the answer, there's one person's name that you're supposed to call.
Gertrude!
Well, the
Yogurt.
doors on everyone can run.
Yogurt.
Some crazy lady.
I was trying to help you.
Erase that. I don't think I should.
We know how you pout when you don't win.
Okay.
It's up to Sarah. What was Anna Jones' maiden name? Ann Jones' maiden name. Lloyd. That's right.
Well, say, Jean's gonna be ahead.
Careful, Maggie. Maggie. Who's a freelance writer? Writes for magazines and newspapers.
Oh, I'll be here in the morning.
Kathy, right. Right, Kathy DeMayo. You'll be here real early in the morning. Okay. Who took a family camping trip and left all their clothes at home?
We've done that. I think there's more than one family.
All their clothes for the whole family.
I don't know.
Well, according to a Jones book, you did that, didn't you, Ken? You had to drive all the way.
Go all the way back.
I don't know too many that would go all the way back home. Yeah, no. Their 50th anniversary on May 17th, 1961.
You give me these 50 questions all the time. 50th anniversary in 61.
Yep.
So they would have been married in 1911. Now that was the year after my folks. Oh, it had Uncle Lou.
Yeah. Lou and Hope.
Hey, Jane got one.
Fair and square, too.
Okay. Betty Jean, who eloped to Marysville, Kansas.
Want to take this, Bob?
Gordon and Ann. Who had a car that they called Fanny the Falcon?
This Mary's group answering?
No, this is Maggie's group answering. Helen and Owen.
I'll guess Roger.
Liz. And that was in the Jones book too. It was a blue Falcon. Where was John S. born?
Where's John S.?
The original.
Wales.
That was the question that somebody gave me, and that's the answer. So I would have wanted the town. You got that right.
How many do we have?
I thought I'd straighten it right out. Oh, there's Daddy. I don't have it. So I can't. Right there. Why don't you get him on the stand here? The short one's on the line.
Hey, Dean.
Short one's on the line.
Of girls. Devin's over there.
Actually, we have to go to Kmart to get shoes. I just got it.
Because the girls like Kmart tennis shoes, and there's a Kmart here. So for $7, I'll buy them shoes. Easiest deal I've had in a while. The last one I had here was Reebok.
All right, stand there by your dad. Stand there, man. Get the car and take the picture. No, this is just people. Come on. Whitey, get over there by Marie. Huddle up.
Let's get
Oh, come on.
one of Lisa's good friends from school,
Closer, closer.
Hold up. And if they were home, I'd introduce you.
Outer Boston.
Would you get a picture of Lisa?
Get a smile from everybody as we go by.
I have
Probably the best animated film you'll ever see. Al does it for Channel 11.
Does she know? You know, Rob got the biggest group.
Training facility in Dallas.
As I recall, there's a bunch of stuff around the
No, my training is primarily in training counselors, alcohol and drug counselors primarily.
Down 240 yards, and then 3 more. Roughly.
How come you introduced me to that brat? That brat in Texarkana, you know? in a gas station. We go, hello, this is Aaron. Like a freak you are.
Beautiful. That's just beautiful. Come on, Maria.
Who'd you think I was talking about? That one kid?
Sure. Okay, Marie, I can't see you, dear.
Well, I was trying.
She's
trying to hide.
All right. Cuddle up a little closer to me.
That's what I want to do. Make sure they blink in. Pipeline stove.
Don't stray off the path.
Stay on the bed.
Oh, my. Anybody home?
Oh.
What were you? Sure. Yeah, that's right. Not a whole lot of fancy furniture.
Warren, this was a wonderful idea to come out here.
Well, I'll say nice and relax and get it to ourselves.
Oh, how lucky we got.
Oh. Oh, do they?
Where they had the candles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Boy, wouldn't that have been cold to get up at night on that cement
boy,
floor?
sure does.
All right, this is where when they build a fire, they heated the fat to make wax, and then they poured it in these. This is what your candle looks like.
Wait, I'm going to zoom in on that.
You could run it real quick. It's really pretty.
Okay.
Oh, look at Warren's demonstrating.
What is it, Dad?
Okay.
Candles?
So now
Is that it? You cannot...
Right. Yeah. Why is that important to play?
Pull the bike out the spring and there's a seat up back. Oh, boy. My. Yeah.
Linda, wait up.
Dad, all it is a walk.
Oh, dear. Yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, my. Yeah. Oh, my. Yeah. Boy. Yeah.
I know they have a
Done?
Smile. Look at New Jersey tea.
Oh, white plate. That's
You saw that ball breaking. Throw a good breaking ball. Just
She's not going to do it today.
What we do is what I'm going to show is how a log was squared. Of course, I can't build a whole log cabin today. If you notice on this log cabin here, on the lower left-hand side, on the other side of the door there's 2 new logs in there. This log cabin here has got, well, last summer it did. Those 2 logs had termites and carpenter ants and other insects in them. And what was happening was that side was starting to sink. You can see how this side was kind of starting to lean that direction. So what they had to do was they had to jack the whole log cabin up with jacks. Do this, say, put some in right now, is shape a log and to get a log square and put that log back in there. 2 new logs back in there, so the cabin's restored. The reason the people had to square the logs here, and oftentimes you think of a log cabin, you just think of just a bunch of logs cut down with the bark and everything still on, just laid on top of each other. But the reason here in eastern Nebraska and in the eastern states they couldn't do that as well because, as you can just see down there's a lot of different sizes of trees, a lot of different diameters. So what they do, instead of having just to try to lay them all together, they would actually square a log up. Would square. What I mean by square is you can see this top right here is pretty smooth. This is what I've worked on for a while. Made this pretty smooth. This side out today, I'll have to square this up. By meaning square, I'll use a broad hatchet and I'll hit straight down the log and try to make this flat here, flat down there. This is the sides I've worked on before. And we'll try to get that whole log nice and square. Now the reason they had to square them, as I said, there's such a variance of diameters, they couldn't just put logs on top of each other. So it was easier to square a log up and then just keep adding squared logs on top of each other. You can see these have been squared somewhat. Still have a lot of chinking in between. The chinking is this stuff here in the middle. This stuff right here. Now because of the... No, this here is a kind of a plaster cement type thing. It's not what they would have used. They would have used anything from just the mud they could find. When I was doing research on this, I found that people, if they were desperate enough or wanted to have a stronger chinking, would actually cut the manes and the tails off their horses and mix the horsehair in with the mud, make big vats of it like that, and mix that in, and that would hold the mud together a lot better. Broken up glass they would use, wheat stubble, just anything they could find that would make it stick together better. They would use all that in there. So, the process of squaring the log, this log was just like these other ones you see down here with the bark and everything on it. Still in here. Okay, I put notches in about every 6 inches. And that makes it a lot easier just to work in a 6-inch area than it is to try to square the whole length of the log. You can just square each area, each notch up, and the bark and everything comes off a lot easier that way. So some of the tools we use, someone was asking what these things are here. He said they saw them laying here. These are what they call dogs. And I don't know if they had metal, they probably did, some kind. We've made these, and what these are used for is just to hold the log in place. There's an instrument called an adze, and I don't know if any of you gentlemen know what that looks like. It's got a handle like this, but when it comes down, it's flat. Instead of lengthways, it's flat. And to make this log smooth, the people would stand on top of the log and use the adze and go in this type fashion. And that would get the log, all the chinks and everything out of it. They'd have to use those dogs or else the log would roll all over the place. So they had to use the dogs to hold the log down. Now the reason we have an adze, the reason I didn't bring one out and I'm not going to use one today is because it rained and this wood's still awful wet. And I'm not even sure how much I'll be able to demonstrate today because it is awful wet. It was wet before. This is a piece of cottonwood, and I guess in some aspects I'm glad it's wet because they say once the cottonwood does get actually all the way dried up and it's dry, it's hard as you can't even drive a nail through it. It's that hard of a wood. So I'm kind of glad this one is wet, but it might be too wet for me actually to do some work on it. I'm not sure. But that actually kind of wraps up what I was going to do. What I do now is I just start doing some work on this. Oh, one thing I didn't show you. the shingles. You see the tops of the roof there, the wooden shingles. What they would use to make the shingles is called a froe. This is it right here. And as this is started here, what they do is they put that froe in there, get a wooden mallet, something like this, and then just keep driving that through, all the way through. And when they would do that, if they were lucky and they did a good job, you get a piece of wood like this, and you just keep using that as shingles. That's why shake shingles are so expensive now, because it's a lot of hard work. But feel free to stay around and watch. If you don't want to watch me do some of this stuff, go ahead and move on. But I'm just going to start kind of hitting on this log a little bit. So thanks a lot.
Yeah.
This is a broad hatchet. The reason this is good to try to, when you square up a log, is it's only flat, it's only sharpened on one side. And so this side over here is actually just dull. So you can go straight down and get a nice clean cut, nice square cut. And I'll try to show, I need to make some of this smaller in here. I'll try to put some of these notches in and show how that notching process works. Log's not as wet as I thought it would be. It's not working too bad. But then what you do is you put those notches in there all the way down, and it's easy just to stand here sit here on like this. Go straight down. I'll run into kind of a knot right here. Yeah. Knot is hard, but you can see how that's a lot easier just to work a small area like that instead of trying to square the whole area. Not yet. Try to keep this leg back as far as possible. Well, I hit a knot right here. It's not moving through there very fast.
Brown, you're recording. Oh, he's so cute.
What is it you were doing to the talent?
Are you doing something to the talent? No, I'm not doing anything.
Separate. This is your...
Hi, Bob.
Hello.
Hello. Y'all wave. This is Lisa and Amy.
No. We're going to Omaha, of course. Oh, this is hurting my hand. This is hurting me. We feel like we got a log between our legs.
That's Helgi. You do. There's Krista, looking funny. Uh-huh. And there's Stephanie, who hates cameras.
Ready?
Hi. Helgi, smile. Smile, Krista. Oh boy, look it. Woo! Helgi!
Kick your legs up.
Yay, Helgi!
Not gymnastically.
Oh my gosh.
I want to go. Oh, wait.
Oops, X-rated.
Like material. Oh, the water's straight out of my ear. I can't get it.
Let me try.
Yay!
I can't. No, you gotta. You drop.
Smile, Lisa. Smile, Lisa.
Drop with no hands.
Oops.
She'll be able to do it, I guess. Yeah.
Almost. Woo!
No.
I didn't realize I was that close. There's Stephanie, then Helgi, then Krista. I'm just telling everybody on the film who y'all are, so you can be embarrassed when your kids see this. You're such a poop. Come on, Helgi.
What is she gonna do?
Helgi, isn't it taking you a bit long?
What is she gonna do? What was she gonna do?
Who?
Let's see if I can flip this around. Here. Wait. Hop on. I'm next.
Oh my god.
This made me dizzy.
Oh, goodness. Whoa. You just ate hot dog. Wow.
That made me dizzy. Here's my Of course, you had to have fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
We are. You getting so.
Yeah. Wait. Anna, get out of here and come join us.
Come on, Anu. Yay!
walks up the steps. And she's on the first platform. Yay! And she's on the second platform. And she goes up the second steps.
And how old are you?
And here she goes. Yay, Anu! Yay!
I did it smart that time.
Yay, Anu!
That was fun. Say, how do you feel? Ouch. All right, what are we going to do next? Well, we've been on that ride. I almost threw up. Oh!
Hi, Scooter. How you doing? Let's get a zoom of Scooter. Yes, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. The famous Jones dog.
The well-traveled Jones
Yes,
dog.
the well-traveled Jones dog that Mom insisted on bringing. Hi, y'all. Hi, wave at the camera. And what's y'all's name? That's Devin and Amy. Oh, you've grown so much, Amy. Yay, Anu. I sure did. Yay, Anu. Uh-huh. But it's going to be all of you, Anu. Everyone's going to be so happy.
Everybody take 2 bars and hang up with.
This will be a good picture.
Okay, but
Get up the camera equipment here, please. I want these children to remember this like when I was young, a lot younger.
Look at that throw! Woo!
I guess reverse the process.
Yeah.
Oh, the thing that would shoot the balls at them. I could probably hit those.
Yay, Helgi! Woo! Look at Helgi throw! She's got her dad's arm. Uh-huh. Can't even follow that ball. And let's watch Aaron throw. Yes, the master. Woo!
Look at you.
Woo!
Okay. It's just like my arm on my sister. You know, like. Like that. Oh. That is like.
Hi!
She probably was on the hospital staff.
Hey, Dad! Hey, Dad, Mom! I can get you back now!
You have to move it slowly, Sarah.
Oh.
It'll end up being a blur.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right. Hi, Olin.
Did you?
It's her grand dog. You have more good seasons down there. You get
4 definite seasons. Yeah. So you're not so far down. Except we love winter there because it's so pretty. No snow and it's not that cold. It's like the lowest it's got is about 66. But it generally was so cold and you get a never did ask about the
So you get a taste of it, but it goes away.
And you can enjoy your fireplace. Yeah. Sure. Winter winters are
Yeah. We had a real light.
But it doesn't get like snow is a real treat. That snow and everybody takes it.
That's right.
Yeah, we have 6 months.
And then it gets cold.
Yeah. Jill, the only thing I can say about it is that I've never lived in a place
He had some problems. He was just too big. Really weird things happened. And so I was terrified of vets. And anytime vets were
Don't like cameras, huh, Jenny?
Florida Pacific have dogs. I was there in January until April. It's wicked. Yeah. I go down, there's only so much I can do. So. Oh, yeah. He's a polo player. You thought you'd given up in there? No. He's 89 years
on the way back. This place clears out.
Say hi to Sarah.
Hi.
He waves to the camera. She's filming you.
Hi.
He won't look at the camera.
I mean, they would not even know.
I bet he has a child. Because it was my husband. You see so many cute kids come in the store, you know, when you talk to them. One day I had this boy who was lost. And he was trying so hard. He had on a little Transformer raincoat with yellow. And I took him up to the service desk and that guy was saying, he's up there. And I go, hi, John. And I took him up there and I go, Ed, he's lost. His name is Phil. So Tom went back.
Okay.
Hi.
One more last time.
Hi.
Stay tuned for the softball game this afternoon.
Gonna score! Whoops. We missed the score. Throw it over. Score.
What? Hi. Huh?
The little red light wasn't on yet.
It looks like it's food, but it looks like it's plastic food that looks like real food. It's like the new airplane. They have TV dinners, yeah.
Got maps? Here's your maps. Bring them along. Let's pull out everybody has a map. Go ahead. We will begin to trail out, head south. We're going to go to the Seven or hog fire. And then we will go ahead and follow somebody else around.
Leave. Put out the fire.
Yeah, I think public johns are here. There won't be very many on the road. Think about that.
Now, what's wrong with this picture?
Hi.
Cars.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Johnson.
See that?
It's very foolish.
Don't waste the film.
I'm not recording, Mark.
You were. I can tell when you are. The red light comes on.
Hey girls,
No.
I'm recording. Okay.
Stephanie. Okay.
This is Nick Sadler, who is my sister's son.
Would you go through that again, please? Basically, what I've got right up the pork production for, say, the state of Nebraska is roughly about 90%. There's a hog operation up in the northeast, up north of Omaha by O'Neill that has a complex. They have 3 buildings, and they have 300 sow units. Now, when you figure that a sow will produce 2.5 farrowings per year, and they have on the average of 9 to 10 pigs each farrowing. This particular outfit up north of O'Neill, they have 900 sows, and they are 7% of the pork production for the state of Nebraska in 1 year. The other average size pork unit in the state of Nebraska is somewhere between 25 and a 50 sow unit. I carry about anywhere between 30 to 40 pounds, especially because of the problems we had with the drought, the price of feed going up. But at the present time, I've got about 200 head of fat hogs out on this complex right here, and at the present time, it's the only one I have. In the future, I plan on putting another totally enclosed.
I gotta get my camera.
I'm recording.
Now you do not want to step in the mud.
It isn't mud.
Because it isn't mud. See, look, he has water sprinkler, water system there.
Oh, can I pet one of them?
He's going to bring some up in the... You can check.
Piggyback ride!
Ears.
Oh, they're so
Look
cute.
at their ears. So they've been chewing on them?
So it's hard to tag them.
Now, why did you
Oh,
say
not
these
the
little
yellow,
ones
but
are
No,
here?
yeah, that's, or
Like
no,
Chinese shirts?
I think so. Yeah. But they're all the same. I don't think they would chew their ear the
Oh, look at
same
that
though,
one. It's
Ben.
different. And then this one, these are 5 or 6, and then the other one's got 9. I'll have to ask him.
Here, this.
Oh, Mark, here's one, a little one in front. Ah, there he goes. I scared him. This is so gross.
Look at them fight!
Are they fighting?
They were.
Ah.
Oink, 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 oink. When you come to the farm, the farmer says, yeah.
Oh my God.
He wants more. Here, get me feeding the cow. Or the
Pig.
pig.
Mark. They're walking around. Hands it.
Get a picture of Devin with him. Get a picture of Devin with the pig.
Grab him on the leg.
Just grab him over the leg.
You got a quiet one.
Did you feel his nose?
James.
John, feel his nose.
Maybe you wanna hold this one?
I never knew.
Pull that back.
He does his plowing and stuff.
This is the one with the television and the stereo?
No, but it does have a stereo and an air conditioner.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Hold the pig.
I know. Put him up over your arm.
Look at him.
There you go.
No, you don't hold him like Scooter.
I'll be in the back.
Turn around, Linda.
It's nice and warm. You want to see Aaron kiss the pig? Aaron kiss the pig. Aaron, if you kiss the pig, you'll get a special treat. Well, you're good with him. He was the one that was screaming. Oh, really? You're good. You got that special touch, right? Get a bigger one.
Back It doesn't tape. I'm talking.
I didn't get away.
There's just the wrong leg.
It was over here. Oh, there it is.
I want to talk to you. In the camera. It's not out.
David said this morning, he said, you know.
You didn't see anything. Right? Say yes.
Who, me?
Yes.
What didn't I see?
I get something else in an ice cream bar.
Yeah, but see, David, we've got.
I get something else beside an ice cream bar. Okay? Should